All right, if I could have everyone come in and take a seat or take a space on the side to stand. But before the formal program starts, I've been asked to say a few words about Dr. James Edney, who unfortunately passed away on August 7th. And so I'm going to say a few words about him. But before I get started, if you don't know, I'm actually from Hawaii. I'm the chair of surgery at the University of Hawaii. So we start out by saying aloha. So that's hello and mahalo. Thank you for coming to Hawaii, because I think you're actually in the safest place you can be in Hawaii is at a resort, because you all have either been tested and or vaccinated. It's out in the community where the problem is right now. So stay close to the resort and you'll be fine. But thank you all for joining us in Hawaii. So unfortunately, Dr. Edney, who is very near and dear to this organization, he's a past president. He was the executive director for many years. Around 5:45 on August 7th, we lost our dear friend and colleague in a small plane crash in Victoria, Minnesota. And this picture here is Jim with his lovely wife, Debbie, who he married in 1992. And what a lot of people don't know is it was like the Brady Bunch. He had 3 kids, she had 3 kids, and they brought the families together. And Debbie was the love of his life. And our heartfelt condolences go out to Debbie and the rest of the family. Unfortunately, Debbie's oldest son and his wife passed away in the plane crash as well. So Dr. Edney was a native Omahaan or Nebraskan and the oldest of 5 children. He went to the famous Creighton Prep School in Omaha and then Creighton University, medical school at the University of Nebraska College of Medicine. We're fortunate to have Dr. David Mercer here, who's the chair of surgery there. He did his general surgery training there, and he went away for 1 year to do a surgical oncology fellowship at the University of Colorado. And actually, that's where I think a lot of Jim's life changed course. He met up with Gene Moore and Fred Moore, and they became lifelong fast friends. And you can interpret fast in many ways, but they really had a great time. And their commitment and love of this organization was very evident through the years. And part of the reason it's important to recognize Dr. Edney is he was integral to this organization for many years. So after his fellowship, he returned to the University of Nebraska and moved up through the ranks there. And he is a loyal Nebraskan. The only year he actually did not spend in his adult life in Nebraska was when he was in Colorado. He rose to be chief of surgical oncology, director of the Olson Comprehensive Breast Cancer Center, and residency program director for many years, where he was instrumental in training many surgeons who came out of the University of Nebraska Medical Center. Anybody who knew Jim when he was practicing knew he was a master clinician, and you can see by the awards here that he was recognized for his expertise, including America's Top Doctor for Women in 2010, named by the Ladies' Home Journal. And from the dean of the College of Medicine, I think it sums it up. He was a consummate clinician and educator, recognized as one of the top breast cancer specialists in the region. He was a supreme educator. He was the program director for many years there, and he won the Golden Apple Teaching Award from the residents at the University of Nebraska Medical Center. He was a national leader. He was very committed to the Commission on Cancer, but his two dearest, the 2 organizations nearest and dearest to his heart were the Western Trauma Association. I think it's because he got to hang out with the Moore brothers there, and the Southwestern Surgical Congress, where he rose to presidency from 2001 to 2002, and later became the organization's executive director. So Dr. Mercer, from a quote I pulled off of the Nebraska tribute to Dr. Edney, said he'll miss him. He impacted him, and as he did so many others with his caring and kindness, to say nothing of the many patients he helped throughout his medical career. And having worked side by side with Dr. Edney, I can tell you he was a master clinician. So in thinking about paying tribute to Dr. Edney, I came up with a few words that reminded me of Dr. Edney. He was a mentor for me. He was a role model. He was gregarious. I don't think anyone can argue with that. But what a lot of people fail to realize, he was a very generous person, very generous of his time and his soul. And he was extremely loyal to whatever he put his heart behind. He was loyal to that cause, and the Southwestern Surgical happens to be one of them. I think one of the things about Jim was that he was a connector. He knew a lot of people, and a lot of people wanted to know Jim, and he brought people together. And so you might ask, why me to introduce Dr. Edney? Dr. Edney was my first partner when I got out of residency at the University of Nebraska. And for 5 years, I learned a lot about Jim, about not just about surgery, but how to be a surgeon. And I learned a lot from Jim about how to be a member of an organization, how to be committed to the membership, how to be committed to the organization, and what it meant to be a part of an organization like the Southwestern Surgical. So it is truly with heavy heart that I was asked to do this, but I'm honored to be able to do this, to remember Jim. I think the word that describes him most for me is he was a bon vivant. He was full of life, he was sociable. He's somebody who had very refined taste, and he was always interesting to talk to. This actually came from his obituary, and quite honestly, I'm not sure who wrote this. I suspect it was one of his children, but it sums up Jim very well. Jim had a sharp, often acerbic wit and largely impolitic sense of humor. You could locate his table at any restaurant by following the bursts of laughter. He read several books a week and had a voracious curiosity about the people that he met and their stories. If you ever had the chance to talk to Dr. Edney, he would have stories about everybody and everything, and he knew everybody. And it was amazing to watch him interact in an organization like the Southwestern. And I owe a lot to him because after this last talk, this last hour, I was the 65th president of this organization, only the second Asian American and the first Asian American in 25 years to be president. And it was really because of Jim pushing me through the ranks, encouraging me to do the things necessary to rise up in the ranks of the Southwestern Surgical. But that's the kind of person Jim was. If he took you under his wing, he was going to nurture you and mentor you and help you make your way. And I will miss him dearly. So I ask that you rise in a moment of silence so we can remember Dr. Edney. Leaves us far too early. And when I was putting this together, this really kept coming to mind because this is really Jim. He was just larger than life for many of us. All right, thank you very much. Have a great meeting and mahalo for coming to Hawaii.